All right, guys, so we're going to talk about more advanced concepts in arousal, right, and creating activity in the dog now. So this is my competition dog. He's currently titled IGP1. So again, I can't say this enough because I know a lot of people are going to get confused about this. It's so important to differentiate between when I need him active and when I just need him to be normal. So if I'm like heeling onto the field or sorry, I'm just walking onto the field, or I'm just walking him normally with me, this is how we're walking, right? Dog's not looking at me. He is excited because he knows we're about to do something, but he's not in that same state down of arousal that you would see with him doing the obedience, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'll just get you to move over here. What I'm gonna do now, guys, is I'm gonna give him the activation cue. So for me, I have a word cue. I also have a collar, right? But the big thing is, your dog should be like this. You can see he's raring to go. He is raring to go. He wants to get after it, okay? So once I put this on him, he's gonna know that's kind of the signal to get after it. And don't be afraid, like maybe he might just break right now and start barking at me. That's okay, right? I want a dog who I have to be like, hey, calm down, calm down, calm down, versus a dog where I have to say, hey, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, all right? So I don't murder my dog if he breaks, kind of preempts me and says, you know what, let's get after it right now. You know, you'll notice that a lot of the time, between reps or before I get started, my dogs will actually start being active before I've actually cued them to be active, and I'll either kind of just calmly tell them to, hey, like sit down or lie down or whatever, or I'll even reward it, right? Because if you make too much obedience here, right, with this dog, then your dog's gonna start to become a little bit flat, right? The more reactive a dog is, the less proactive a dog is. This is all about creating proactive dog. He hasn't taken his eyes off me, and I never gave him a single command to look at me, right? And the reason why is because he wants to get after it, right? So a lot of problems in obedience in terms of energy and you know, activity, oh, he's not focused on me, all of that goes away when you have an active dog, right? So yes, yes. Good boy. Good. So you can see there, he brought tons of activity. Now he's putting it all into the behavior. Now I can choose to remove him from this behavior and create activity. Yes. And now I put that activity back into the behavior. All right? I make power. I don't let him blow his top. Every dog's different. Some dogs can handle a lot more barking than other dogs. Some dogs are more jumpy. And now we start to think, where do we really want the activity? Right? Do I want it here? In the basic position? Because in IGP, there's a lot of basic positions. And this is what... This is where I want it, right? I want the dog to become super active in the basic position. Yes, the reason why down. I'm going to explain why I put the majority. Once a dog is more developed like he is and has been taken pretty far through the system, I can start to really target the times when I want to create the conditioned response of activity. And for me, I start putting it into the basics, right? The basic positions. And the reason why is because in IGP, when you're moving, your dog naturally, even dogs that haven't been taken through the system, movement generally creates more engagement. So you're moving and they're engaged with you. It's when you stop. That's when you see a lot of dogs check out. So instead of having a problem where, oh no, he's gonna check out on me because we've stopped, let's create the opposite problem. We've stopped. He should be like, hey, I wanna do something. I wanna do something. Hey, I wanna do something, right? And you should have that kind of jittery dog next to you in the basics, because then when you start moving, you're getting maximum power into each exercise. Now it depends on the sport. Obviously different sports may require different things. Out. So I've pounded him I've outed him. I outed him there. What happened? He became active on his own. And I say this before and I'll say it again. The dog becomes active on his own, right? I need him to become active automatically when the rep ends. He should be pushing me to do the next thing, right? There you also saw me make e-collar because he got a little bit too, and with some dogs like him, very high frustration dogs, super intense, they will take it too far sometimes, and if you don't kind of contain the energy a little bit, then they can start jumping on you and biting you and stuff like this. And of course, for me, that becomes a waste of energy. I need the energy contained in front of me, right? I want the dog to put that energy into every behavior. Chip away. Good. And I want him active. And active doesn't always mean barking. I said it before and I'll say it again. Down. Down. Out. No cheap shots. As they become more advanced, I start getting them for cheap shots. Because when I allow a young dog to right? What I allow a young dog to do, I cannot allow a more advanced dog to do, right? Because it can create issues where the dog, instead of putting the energy into the obedience, they start putting the energy into things like jumping on you and biting you. And it's kind of, this is where the art comes in, right? You have to determine. You have to determine, right? Where is my dog requiring some activity? Now, does he need activity here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good. And I'm making activity next to me, not in front of me for him. Because he likes to be in front of me being active, because I did that a ton in his foundation. So for him, he needs to work more on that in the basic position or in the healing. And again, for me, if the dog's kind of jittering next to me, he's looking at me, he hasn't even necessarily started barking. Down. He hasn't started barking, I'm still okay with rewarding that. I want active dog next to me. Out. Right? So, another advanced concept, okay? And you can start to think to yourself, okay, maybe my dog's a little bit weak before a dumbbell retrieve. So you go, you take the dumbbell off the rack, and you make an active dog there. And then you go and move into the dumbbell retrieve, right? It's not about always rewarding him for the activity. It's actually about beginning to frustrate him, right? Foos. Yeah. Show him the ball. Show him. Foos. Yeah. Right? Yes. Yeah. Foos. Yeah. Oi! Foos. Yep. It's over there. It's over there, buddy. All right, guys, so you get the idea. You start to play with it a little bit. Down. Don't always pop the ball. Don't always do the same thing. Sometimes I frustrate him a lot, right? For some dogs, a lot of frustration goes very far. For some dogs, they'll quit if you do too much. Depends on the dog, depends on the drive level, right? So if you say, okay, he's really weak in the down in motion, well, let's make him active, and then let's go into our down in motion, right? This is where we start making more advanced concepts. For me, my dog's a little bit low in the basic position, right? After our last 2 trials, he got a little bit flat there in the basic position. So the other thing that we want to start doing, down, is in a trial, out, down, out, down. In a trial, okay, the dog is going to be, foos, okay, there's going to be moments where there's nothing happening. So, let's say I'm waiting for a send out or something's happening, down, okay, my dog's in a down, And for me, this is the signal that nothing's happening. I put my arms in front of me, okay? And I don't need activity at this point, right? The other thing that you can do, okay, Fuß, sit. I'll just say sit, and I put my arms in front of me. He knows, hey, it's chillax time, you can look around, whatever. But then the second I do this, and I start to condition the dog to believe that when my hands come to my sides and down, out, and I make that Fuß, right? It's time to get active. Fuß. Obviously, this is something you want to practice. Sit. And he's still, there you go. I don't mind if he looks around here. Now, if he looks around when I'm asking for attentiveness. Why, Fuß? That's okay. He's becoming active, he knows. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuß. Oh, yeah. Why, yes. Okay? So you guys get it now. You can start to play with turning the activity on and off. Turning it on, turning it off. And showing your dog, who's now in a trial mode, down. Right? He has a 1, down. He has a 1, right? So now I'm showing him more in the trial mode, right? This is what you must do now, is you must accept that sometimes we're off and sometimes we're on, right? And your cue can depend on your particular sport, your particular endeavor, but it needs to be obviously very targeted to what you're doing. So this is more of like advanced stuff. And now you know I can make arousal. How do I make arousal during a trial? Now I always say to people, don't be afraid to cheat in a trial. Like I've had handlers whose dog maybe starts to go a little flat in a trial, and I say, look, if your dog goes flat in a basic position, when you take a basic, maybe the judge has turned its back on you, maybe he hasn't. Give your dog the cue to bark, just a little. All cues should be very like subtle, so it shouldn't be a visible command, right? Normally it's just like, you know, something like that, and the dog, whoa, barking, Fuß, and you're gonna lose points for that, right? But guess what? Now your dog's active moving into the next exercise, and I guarantee you, you'll lose less points than if you have a flat dog next to you who's dragging his ass through everything. So if you notice your dog getting flat, especially in more lower level trials, don't be afraid to give him some handler help. Hey man, be active here, right? Now we talk a little bit about our cues, right? So in the more intermediate phases of building arousal, in the earlier video, we talked about putting arousal on the e-collar, putting arousal on a leash or a pinch collar, okay? So you can start using it too. You should still continue to use it too in the more advanced levels. Out. So you guys are gonna see now, down, down. My e-collar or my leash, and they're the same for me. Like if I use a leash, it's the exact same. Fuß. It works the same. So if I take off here and I go Fuß, yeah. Ah, you see that? E-collar there. And again, yeah. There we go. Right? So you see my correction or my activation is which I like to think about it, right? Down, down, right? I like to think about it like this, where I can make the dog active on the collar, okay? But I can also make him more correct. So it's an active correction, right? I like to think of it like that. Some people say it's just an activation. Yeah, but you're also seeing that the dog puts their behavior in, they channel their behavior. If you're doing it properly, you make this and the dog becomes more correct while staying active. So I call it an active correction. That's how I look at it, right? You can make it exclusively an activation. It's completely up to you. But for me, it's an active correction. My dog doesn't go low on the e-collar, because that's where I do my work, nor does he go low on the pinch collar. He becomes more active there, okay? And because so if you take my other modules, we go a lot more in depth into resistance training, both in the heeling, the position, sit down, stand, the dumbbells, all that stuff. So now when the dog feels resistance, whether it's from a leash, whether it's from a collar, an e-collar, if the dog feels an activation or an active correction, the dog should become more intense, not, less intense. Of course, we modulate that to what the dog is, right? Some dogs can handle a lot less, some dogs can handle a lot more. That's where the artistry comes in, and you look at your dog and you evaluate, what kind of dog am I dealing with here, right? So we want a dog who's active on the pressure. We want a dog who self-starts, right? And we want to constantly work on this. I just did a BH and an IGP-1. This train comes every time I'm doing a video. Without fail, it comes every time I'm doing a video. Like, it doesn't come any other time. All right, so I just did a BH and an IGP-1 with my dog, okay? Within a week of one another. I noticed my dog begin to go a little bit flat on the basic position. So this is something where you constantly work on this. I don't care how old the dog is, how many trials your dog has had. You bring your dog back to this and you work on the energy of the dog. You take him out on the field, you make positive energy, you create active dog, you reward the activity, and then you put him away, right? And that's very, very powerful. Not every session is a 20-minute session. With my last dog, Gage, come here, down. With my last dog, Onyx, his father, I had a problem with my dog going flat in trial. And the dog was super driven. It would just, over a period of time, he would go flat in the trial. What I did was I started to make him active in the basic positions in training, and then you should have seen the difference in trial. It was like night and day. My dog didn't go flat. He stayed active and engaged with me the entire trial, right? Because he started to, through classical conditioning, he started to associate basic position with activity. He associated me taking the dumbbell off the rack with activity. These are useful things. So these are more advanced concepts in activity and arousal. You guys are going to see me use this now throughout the rest of the course, and now you guys are going to maybe understand a little more. When you see it in my YouTube videos, you guys are going to understand. A lot of people see it and they just think it's barking, and barking is the key. It's not barking. It's active arousal that the dog is generating towards you, the same as he would generate towards a helper, the same as he would generate towards a decoy. That level of engagement and power. And depends on your dog. Some dogs are a little more dangerous, guys, and I've said it before, you kind of have to understand, okay, I can't allow my dog to do this. I can't allow my dog to jump on me like Yaxie, my other dog. He likes to jump too much in my face. For me, that's a bit of a waste of energy, so I'll correct him for that. I prefer him to stay active on the ground. This dog, same thing. He likes to jump a little bit out in my face. And if he does, down, right, down. If he does, yeah, great boy. Hey! Don't do that. Exactly. You see, he just went up and tried to take a cheap shot. Yeah. Boy. Out. Even active at a distance. Good, flats. Okay, guys, so, and that's okay, you know, like this is the thing too, like if you have a strong dog and you're trying to create like the most optimal level of activity and have a dog that's breathing fire in a trial, you're gonna take a little bit of a walk on the wild side. You might get bit. It is what it is, you know, but when he bites you, and for sure several times in training he has bitten me, nothing too severe, but more as a puppy, like he experimented, I killed the dog for it. Okay, not like literally, you guys know, right? But I mean, I very firmly correct him for it. You can be active within reason. You're allowed maybe sometimes to put your paws on me, but there are lines. You know, maybe you can't jump in my face. You certainly, if it's a weak dog, I let them mouth me a little bit. But if it's a dog like him, no, there's no mouthing allowed, right? I let you be pushy, but there is a line that I draw, okay? And if you go over the line, I severely punish the dog, okay? So, I hope this helps you guys. This is the key to everything. I don't care what you're doing. This is the key. If you are able to strategically inject active arousal into specific behaviors that you're doing, for whatever kind of training, you're going to have a dog who's in a maximum state of drive and focus on you.